I'm not sure if Wizards had some kind of directive to make Lost Caverns of Ixalan an absolutely wild set in so many ways, but this set continues to absolutely blow me away with its art, its cards, and its concepts, and I'm pretty pumped to go over them with you guys here, so let's jump into the video. Thank you everybody for being here, and thank you for making Loveshack your source for Magic the Gathering news, updates, and content. If you are new here, want to go ahead and click that like button and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to stay notified to the channel for all future updates and everything. You get notified right to your phone or device or whatever. And I've been posting videos every day for spoiler season, and there have been some bangers, and so it's pretty cool to see that. Of course, still videos to come on the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park subset, as well as the box toppers. Plenty of stuff to dive into there, but let's just get right into the video. Starting us off with Ixalan, the Great Door. It is a 3-drop legendary artifact with tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Then you can pay 4 and transform it. Activate only if there are 4 or more permanent types among cards in your graveyard. So, of course, artifact, battle, creature, enchantment, land, and planeswalker are your permanent types. So you've got a relatively decent amount, to make that work. But it's not the easiest goalpost to hit, I will agree. It transforms into the Core, which has an ability called Fathomless Descent. You tap it at X mana of any one color, where X is the number of permanent cards in your grave. So if you can transform this, you get a really powerful card out of it that can give you a lot of mana for a relatively low investment. But of course, it'll depend on your deck and whether or not you can actually meet that criteria easily. It sounds easy on paper, but a lot of decks, especially in Commander, things aren't just hitting the grave a ton. Instants and sorceries do, of course, but this is specifically caring about permanence. It's probably solid, but it could very easily be disrupted by like a Bajuka Bog or a Soul Guide Lantern, and then you're kind of like, oh, well, did all this, don't really have a lot of permanence. It's not terrible, though. It definitely does feel like it could be something, just depending on, I feel like strategies that are dependent on it are going to be really where it shines. And at best, at worst, you can still draw a card and discard a card. So there's some hand fixing there and maybe getting stuff engraved to fuel its own effect. Solid, not amazing, but it's decent nonetheless. Tyrion's Journal is 1 in a black legendary artifact. Tap, sacrifice another artifact or creature, draw a card. Activate only as a sorcery. Pay 2, tap, discard your hand, transform Tyrion's Journal. So, the draw power is okay. Obviously, you can get rid of, like, tokens and stuff, so that's neat enough. Discarding your whole hand to transform it better make it worth it. The other side is a legendary land cave that taps to add black, or tap, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it enters the battlefield with a finality counter on it and is a vampire in addition to its other types. It's okay, but I don't think this is all that great. It actually feels pretty underwhelming. The draw engine for a relatively low cost might be decent in standard to be able to get rid of some tokens, but discarding your whole hand and then being able to cast it, it's not like it brings it out for free. It just straight up is like, all right, cast this from the grave. Not terrible. I guess maybe it has some use, but it doesn't strike me as a super powerful card. Although the artwork, again, 10 out of 10. This whole set's artwork is just unreal. I feel like I've said that already multiple times, and I'll keep saying it. Sanguine Evangelist is a 2-white vampire cleric with Battle Cry. Of course, whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Whenever it enters the battlefield or dies, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. Not terrible. You can buff it up if you're spamming bats or other low-cost creatures. It only costs 3 to bring out, and it does give you some resources right off the bat. No pun intended. It's honestly middle of the pack, but it's a decent enough card, and I think it'll probably have a place in standard and maybe vampire tribal, depending on, there's so many different options you have for that deck, and I don't know if this is one you'd immediately slot in, but it could certainly be a budget option, and it looks okay on paper. Now here's one that's an absolute doozy, the Millennium Calendar. This almost reads like a fan-made custom card. It's a 1-drop legendary artifact. Whenever 1 or more permanents become untapped during your untap step, put that many time counters on this card. You can pay 2 and tap it to double the number of time counters on the Millennium Calendar. While there are 1,000 or more time counters on the Millennium Calendar, sacrifice it and each opponent loses 1,000 life. Now, there's a lot to unpack here because 1,000 counters is insane, but if you really think about the fact that you can pretty easily start to stack this up and get counters on it, especially with some of the new cards like the Doctor Who Commander that actually allows you to time travel and expand the number of time counters on things, and things like just proliferating or doubling counters in general, plus doubling season, hardened scales, things that stack counters, give you a lot of stuff. I could see a scenario where you could speed this up pretty quick and get some pretty funny stuff going on with it. Because obviously your lands untapping count towards it as well. So if you have, 5, 6 lands, you're untapping, that's 6 right there. You're doubling it every turn. You're really starting to stack these things up. This is a goofy card, but it doesn't feel... It reads as more niche than I think it will be. I think people are going to find ways to break this, or at least find ways to utilize it. It's definitely better than it seems just on an initial read, even if it is a bit goofy. Soulcoil Viper is an uncommon 2 and a black creature snake. Pay black, tap, sacrifice it. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Activate only as a sorcery. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I think this card's actually really freaking good. It's essentially a reanimate after the first turn you bring it out. I mean, it's a body. The sorcery thing, of course, does have a bit of a drawback to it, but being able to revive from grave, especially in Standard, is not something you commonly see, and not for this low of a cost. I felt like it was at least worth mentioning, because I do think there are going to be decks, especially that play a lot of higher-powered black creatures, that are going to want to utilize this, and, it's just a solid card overall. Mobile Throne is a 4 artifact creature golem with ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Mobile Throne is the chosen type in addition to its other types. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of that chosen type triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So it's like a Vanquisher's Banner, but instead it causes double triggers, which is definitely powerful. I don't know off the top of my head which decks is really going to be useful in. I could see like a Teysa Karlov deck playing this if you're playing a more type-heavy version of stuff, just to be able to utilize that more effectively. But it's a good card, and it's obviously going to have a spot in many different commander decks, probably a lot of tribal decks, because being able to, duplicate your triggered abilities, whether a creature dies or enters battlefield or whatever, you could trigger that an additional time, and this is a pretty low investment card with ward. Galta Stampede Tyrants. This card was announced a little while back. Apparently, I just missed it. But this card is a 5 green, green, green legendary creature Elder Dinosaur with trample. When it enters the battlefield, put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, obviously, it does cost 8, which isn't the easiest thing, but let's not forget that Gishath can bring this out. Green Sun Zenith can bring this out. There are so many ways to just cheese this out and then just, boop, splat your hand right on the battlefield. And it is a 12/12, so that's crazy, too. This card's pre-selling over $100 right now, and obviously pre-sale prices are early and things will change and shift, but just shows you what the community is kind of speculating this is actually going to be. And upgrade for Galta for sure, but there are so many ways to bypass that mana cost, or at least reduce it, that I definitely think this card is absolutely going to make an impact, and it might be a Jurassic level impact, because it is a crazy powerful card. Dire Fleet Flail is 1-drop red artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +2/+0, equip 1. Craft with an artifact for 3 red, and then you can return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Craft only as a sorcery. Now, just a quick note, I don't have an English translation image yet of the backside of this, but I'll tell you what it does. When it transforms, the equipped creature gets, whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact. If you do, deal damage equal to its power to target creature, and it gets a +3/+0 buff. It's not terrible, it's just kind of costly, and the crafting mechanic so far for me seems to have really high mana costs in order to actually be, worth it most of the time. But this card does, again, it feels like pack filler. I don't think it's going to be all that great, even if there are some, uses for its flip side there. We've got Sunken Citadel. This is a cave land. It enters the battlefield tapped. As it enters the battlefield, choose a color. You can tap, add 1 mana of the chosen color, or tap, add 2 mana of the chosen color. Spend this mana only to activate abilities of land sources. So, of course, there are a bunch of new caves. There's actually a full cave cycle. They're common, so I haven't really bothered to cover them too much, but they all have discover abilities, so you can kind of use them easier with this. But in general, I think there might be, land elemental decks that might be able to utilize this, be able to get land abilities, coming in faster, or just in general, it doesn't have to be land creatures. There could be lands that have effects that have activated abilities, and you can use this to pay for those. So basically, you get extra value out of it, which is certainly neat. It's overall a pretty solid card. And finally, for this video, one of my favorite artworks ever in Magic the Gathering, Get Lost. And this alternate artwork is absolutely beautiful. I can't say enough good things about it. But not only is the artwork just incredible, the actual card is really good too. So it's 1 and a white, it's instant, destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Its controller creates 2 map tokens. Map tokens, as we discussed, are, solid-ish, but they do require a creature in order to be able to use their discover ability. So they're not, incredible. But this is an instant that is a 1 and a white that can get rid of anything. Being able to get rid of an enchantment with this as well, though, is what I think really kind of takes it over the top. It's such a good utility card that can remove things that I think it's going to see play across all formats, but especially in Standard and Pioneer, this thing should make an impact right off the bat. And again, that artwork is just fucking incredible. So I just have to say that I can't say that enough. I mean, I am fully in hype mode for this set now as I continue doing these reviews. And generally, you know, after we've had some not bad, but, you know, less exciting sets over the past, you know, Wilds of Eldraine was good. The last couple sets before that were a bit meh in terms of interest and excitement level. This one is definitely not one I'm worried about that with. It is a really, really cool card, and this set is just on a whole nother level so far. And just wait till you guys see, like, the box toppers and stuff, because there's so much more to talk about, and videos will keep coming. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Be sure to sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think of this slate of reveals and where you stand on Ixalan so far. Are you hyped? Are you not? I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.